You're listening to the Teach Better Talk podcast featuring expert educators eager to share progressive tactics to reach more students. Teach Better Talk is created by teachers and fueled by passion. Let's get started.
Hey everyone, welcome to episode 204 on Teach Better Talk. Can I just say, by the way, guys, I totally knew it was 204 and Jeff did not remind me before this recording. So that makes it even better. My name is Ray Hewart and I am with my incredible co-host, Mr. Jeff Gargis. How are you, Jeff?
Wow, I'm great now. Thanks for that. Did drinks start early tonight or something?
No.
Like, what's wrong with you? Are you okay? Are you running a fever?
Honestly, Jeff, I've been so busy with getting back into school. I've been so busy working with students that I haven't gotten to hang out with the Teach Better family in a while. And so in some lame way, I'm upset this is recorded, but I kind of miss you. So it was nice to record this podcast with you.
It's very weird. We've talked about this other times where it's happened randomly, but it's really weird. It happens more obviously when you're into the school year because you have so much going on, but it's always weird when we don't speak at all throughout the day. And today was weird, even though we did Vox back and forth a couple of times, but it was earlier, really early this morning when you were getting ready to get into things. So it doesn't feel like it was today.
I know.
So then the day just doesn't quite feel
especially starting
right.
The year remote. I forget how busy the school year is in the beginning, but then to add the layer of remote, it's just a completely different mindset that I'm in. Even today you were like, oh, are you back at home? I'm like, well, I've been home, right? So I'm working from home. So I feel like my atmosphere hasn't changed. I've been working from home all summer, obviously with all the great work we've been able to do with the Teach Better team. But now having sat on Google Meet calls with students for 8 hours, I'm like, oh my God, my brain is mush. So anyway, it's been so good getting back in the swing of things, but I did kind of miss chatting with you. So this podcast was a really good excuse.
Yeah, well, it works out. I'm good with that. And we're doing 2 tonight, which is fun. It's always great when we get to record multiple ones with awesome educators. And this one was a phenomenal episode. Before we get into that, so, Ray, it has been, you've been getting back into school, so I've been missing you a little bit. So what I went ahead and did was just go ahead. I brought 4 new people onto the team to sort of take your place.
That would have been funny, except that is kind of what happened, guys. Honestly, I'm really excited that these 4 new team members are part of the Teach Better team. And yes, we have been interviewing them for months, but I do just have to say that they totally have been brought on once I got started into school. So I feel like I haven't even done a proper celebration for these people yet. I'm so glad we're going to talk about it on the podcast.
We're going to celebrate them right now. So let's celebrate. We'll kind of maybe we'll go back and forth. We'll kind of celebrate whatever. I don't know. First, we're going to celebrate Chris Madsen. So Chris is coming on as our content manager, and Chris gets the enjoyable role. We're doing a lot of work with me. One of the primary things he's going to take on is actually editing this podcast and producing the video and doing some stuff. And I'm really excited about Chris, his experience as both a content creator and as an educator. He's a high school teacher in Illinois. He's a basketball coach. He's a former collegiate basketball player, and just a really creative dude with a lot of things. He's done a lot of little projects and a lot of creative work that I'm really excited to see him bring that experience and that creativity to the sort of post-production pieces of the podcast. I think he's going to have some really cool ideas down the road and do some stuff, and just bring in his expertise into everything else in the team. Both creative-wise, but also just in his actual education experience. I think it's going to be really, really cool.
Dude, he's awesome. I'm so excited to have Chris on the team. And by the way, he is in Illinois, so he's in the right time zone, just to confirm.
That's true. He is. You're absolutely right. We'll go to our second central time zone person. So you get two more
central time zone people?
Yeah, yes, and that's Joshua Stamper.
Oh, I love Josh Stamper.
So if you don't know Josh and I do I've been doing the mailbag episode with him for a while now. You joined us for one of those as well, which was really fun. But Josh hosts the Aspire. It's called Aspire, the Leadership Development Podcast. And he's coming on as our podcast network manager.
Hey, Jeff, did you know that we had a podcast network?
I didn't until Josh came on. I'm like, oh, wow, that's really cool.
That's not
Yeah, so
true.
that's
Guys, we've been working on the Teach Better podcast network for a while. We just need to find the right person to add the creativity and magic that Josh is going to add. I'm so stoked.
and I really think you said it just right, the right person, and he's super excited. He's got a lot of really cool ideas. That's going to be a lot of fun once he gets rolling with that. So, so super excited about that. By the way, if you want to follow Chris Madsen, he's at teach_underscore Madsen. Joshua is Joshua double underscore.
I like
Stamper.
how that flows. Josh double underscore Stamper. It sounds like he's like some big Hollywood hotshot or something. Obviously,
well, he is. I mean, let's be real. All right, so then I'm gonna get 2 in the Eastern time zone as well. So we got to get more of the Eastern time zone folks here. Unfortunately, one of them comes from Michigan, so that is just what it is. But that's Dave Schmittou joining the team, which is super exciting. Dave's been around for a while now with us, taking part in a lot of stuff that we do. Been a bit, very frequent member of the administrator mastermind that we do every Tuesday, and he has now taken over that. And one of the big things that has changed now is that we're actually offering that every Tuesday at 2 different sessions. Once at 9 a.m. Eastern time in the morning, and then another one at 7 o'clock p.m. Eastern time. And Dave is he's already in there. He's already killing it. It's phenomenal. There's a Voxer group now.
Group?
I know,
good.
like it's lighting up.
Oh man, so cool.
So, and he's doing such an awesome job leading the conversation because Dave's brilliant. And so he can really lead some amazing conversations. And when you talk to Dave, he talks about being in the administrator mastermind as like a sponge and that he's there for, it's totally selfish to him, he says. But and you feel like he's genuinely there to learn with everyone, which I think makes him just a perfect facilitator of these conversations. It's been really, really cool. So super excited to have him on for that role, but just also everything else that he brings to the team and his lens, his experience, and just his personality.
I am so glad that we are highlighting these people because later in this episode, you'll find out when we interview our guest, Katie Miglin, we talk about what the neutral team to be on between Team Ray and Team Jeff, what the neutral team is. And you went Team Caitlin. I just want to clarify for listeners. I thought the neutral team to be on would have been Team Schmittou. That's what I thought. So
well, you're right. It might be so. I think we might have to battle it out. So now is it Team Schmittou or Team Caitlin? Which way are we
what would you pick? I don't know that I couldn't pick.
If you're listening, tweet out and let us know what you think there.
You can't pick. All right. It's easy, Team Ray, Team Jeff. It's not easy, Team Schmittou and Caitlin. There's no way.
You're right. Let's last but not least here. Super excited for this amazing educator to come on, Becky Schnexer, who is at Schnexer. If you can figure out how to spell that, which is SCHNEKSER. Becky's coming on as a training and development specialist. And then one of the big roles that she's jumping into is also helping us to manage our speakers network. So if you don't know that we have a Teach Better speakers network, we do have some amazing educators that we help raise their voices, help get them out to places to share the awesomeness that they have. And Becky's going to help us serve them to the best of our ability. So super excited to have her on and to bring her knowledge as a elementary science teacher. She her class this year is 100% outside. Like her classroom is outside. There is no if it rains, we go inside. We're living in science all day, every day while we're in school this year, which is really cool. It's what she's wanted to do for a long time. And now with the changes in the world right now, she had the opportunity to pitch that idea. And they're like, yeah, let's go ahead and do that. So she's going to bring a lot of really awesome stuff to the team just overall. I'm really excited about it. I'm excited about all 4 of these people. But I do want to say on record, that they do not replace you.
Oh, that's so sweet.
They just, I think, bring an opportunity for us to enhance everything, but they don't replace Ray. It's just one of those things. I gave you a few jabs during the episode, so I'm going to give you a little bit of love right now.
You gave me jabs during the episode because, guys, my BFF is on this episode, and she's not Team Ray. I don't like that at all. What happened? Whatever.
Whoa, wait a minute.
Oh, sorry, Jeff. I meant my female BFF.
I was gonna say, are you saying I'm not a BFF? Because we got some issues.
Yeah, I'm kind of nervous about this now. I feel like I'm in a lose-lose situation. I can't get out. Somebody help me.
Yeah, pretty much. Good luck with that. No, I get it. This was a good one. So let's talk about that really quick. We'll get into this. Katie Miglin is your BFF.
Well, I mean, she's an awesome educator.
She's a 7th grade math teacher who in your building, basically across the hall, right?
I mean, like literally 2 doors down.
She also went to Illinois State University. And I never asked, like, did you meet in college at ISU, or was it after you started working together?
We met in school. We started working together like at Evans Junior High. So.
Okay. So super awesome. Great. We kind of joke with her about her being nervous, but she just nails it. No nerves at all. I mean, I really, really enjoyed just the stories that she shared, how vulnerable she was with us, the reflection she had within the questions, and she absolutely killed the 6 questions in 15 seconds or less. So big shout out to her. Ray, you know this amazing educator better than most. Anything that you want our listeners to really focus on or maybe know about Katie that maybe we didn't even mention?
I just feel like our listeners need to know. We have so many people we interview on this podcast, and we consider all of them family. Katie's like the real deal. Family, amazing human being. I have seen that girl do so many things for students, go so above and beyond for staff members I work with, go above and beyond for families that she works with, support administration. I mean, she is literally, if you had 30 of her, you just want to like fill an entire school building with Katie Miglin. So I am just so happy we finally convinced her to be on this podcast, because she said she'd never come on because she would be too nervous. And I am just so glad we tricked her into it, because she's the real deal, guys. Go follow her. Good people.
With that, let's get an episode 204 with Katie Miglin.
All right, we'll be right back with that episode, but I do want to make sure that you know that you should be listening to all the podcasts, a part of the Teach Better podcast network. Yes, Teach Better Talk is a fun one, and we really appreciate that you have subscribed and hopefully rated and reviewed this podcast. But we also have other podcasts that we have the opportunity to highlight over in our podcast network. Head over to teachbetter.com/podcast to see the full list.
All right, we are here and we are chatting with Katie Miglin. And Katie, it's super excited to have you on the podcast. I'm going to come right out and start by saying and letting everyone know that you've already told us that you're nervous. And Ray wanted me to give you a hard time because you and Ray actually work together, although you're kind of not working together or as closely together right now. Anyway, you do work together. I would think you might consider Ray a friend, which puts me already just probably as the third wheel, which is kind of what I'm used to on this podcast. Anyway, regardless, I'm super excited to learn more about you, to kind of dive into your story here. Before we get too far into that, how are you feeling right now?
I mean, I'm good. I'm a little nervous. I'm on Ray's podcast, but I am team Chad. I just feel like that's the safest way when in this podcast. So just for the record, I'm team Chad.
Just to confirm for our listeners, Katie's like one of my best friends, and I am not going to allow you to be team Chad. There's no way that this is going to even start this way. Katie Miglin, I was so excited to have you on this podcast. How dare you start off team Chad? You're crazy.
I just like to be a neutral party. I don't like to ruffle anyone's feathers early on. Let's see how this goes, and maybe I'll switch, Ray. Maybe you'll convince me.
The thing to know, Katie, is that Chad's actually not the neutral. Chad's just kind of like the enemy of both of us. You need to go team Caitlin. That's the safe bet.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I could do that. So that works.
There you go. So we got her there. That way, there's no pick there. I do want to note I had to mute myself because I was laughing so hard when you called this Ray's podcast. But go on.
See, there you go, Ray. That was my little push for you.
I appreciate that. You're the best, Katie. So I obviously, Katie, know you a bunch. We not only have worked together for years, but thankfully have been friends for a long time as well. And you've kept me sane during COVID, which I really owe you massive thank yous for. But I know our listeners, I know, right? Seriously, but for real. But for our listeners who may not know you, will you start off with that like super silly question of explaining all that you do? Like, what do you do in education?
Well, basically, I teach 7th grade math. That's like its simplest answer. I've taught for 12 years. I've always been in 7th grade. They haven't let me graduate to any other grade yet. But I've always taught math. Every once in a while, I get a section of language arts. So that's kind of nice to change things up every once in a while. But with that, in a typical year when there are humans in the buildings, I would run our Fellowship of Christian Athletes, also known as FCA Club. I co-direct the school plays. I host before school program. I'm on the leadership team. I just kind of a jack of all trades, if you will.
Yeah, I just want to jump in here, Jeff, and to confirm for our listeners, Katie's the teacher that is involved in everything, but always gives everyone else the credit, is literally her to a T.
Well, that's sweet. Thank you, Ray.
I like it. So just curiosity now, Katie. So you're involved in everything. Does Ray ever step up, and is she ever involved in anything, or is it just kind of like that's why you have to do everything?
That is primarily the reason, Jeff. It's kind of just known that Ray is kind of a big slacker, because she doesn't do anything. I'm sure you're aware of that. So people like me have to pick it up for her.
I'm going to go on record right now. I'm pretty sure she just won hashtag Team Katie.
Boom.
See, Ray, you thought you had an ally coming in, but it turns out
you know what?
I've already flipped her.
I did think that I had an ally coming in, and then I reflected on all the times that we've sat out on my deck and had adult beverages, and she always picks on me. So maybe I need to leave this podcast before it gets really bad.
We can change it up. We can change the tone. Don't ditch me that quickly, right?
All right, we'll see.
You now have your new objectives. All right, let's dive into the first question or the next question here. So this is one I always enjoy talking about because I've always said that I've been really fortunate to fail a lot in my life, because when I reflect back on those things, it's where I've learned all the lessons that have led me to where I am now. So can you take us to a time, share a story with us about a time that you've had a failure or a challenge in your life? Share what happened, how did you overcome that, and what did you take away from that experience?
Well, Jeff, I want to start by saying I, for a very long time, had a huge problem with this answer. I really didn't this question. I struggled because I felt like people's answers, it was like we were focusing on the failure. And to me, we're educators, right? We fail all the time. I probably failed like 20 times just in the last hour, but that's just how we are as teachers, and we have to keep moving. And so it took me a while for me to realize like there was a time in my life where I reflected and changed and kind of pivoted. And so when I grew up in a very white, affluent neighborhood, very white, affluent school, and I went to a private school my whole life, K through 12. I had kids in my classes that were the same as me, same lifestyle as I was. We didn't have special ed in our school. We didn't have a lot of students of color. I just really wasn't exposed to differences. And I really honestly wasn't aware. So I went to a public school. I went to ISU for college, Illinois State University, and I still kind of clung to what I knew, and I clung to people who were like-minded for literally no reason other than it was just what I knew, right? And I got a job right out of college at a decently diverse public middle school, and I loved it. I loved like walking through the halls, just seeing the differences, the crowds, the noises. It was so not what I was used to, because I grew up, in a school, my high school was 500 students. So it was so eye-opening to me. But as I kind of was into my early years of teaching, I found myself constantly defending students who were raised like I was. I kind of defended my background. I didn't ever want to come across that I didn't know something or that I didn't understand something. I really wanted to be valued as an educator, and I wanted other teachers to see me as someone who knew what they were doing. And so it took me a while. In fact, I had a co-teacher, Kathy Burbrick. I taught with her my whole life, my whole career, and she was fantastic. And she really kind of introduced me to the Ruby Pain and just diversity in general. And it wasn't until I was about 3 or 4 years in that I realized I really didn't know much and how ignorant I really was. I had no idea what it was like to live in poverty. I had no idea how severe white privilege was. I had no idea really a lot of the challenges that my students were facing and experiencing at their houses. And it was at that time where I realized I kind of failed big time. And I had failed them as students. I had failed just in general because I hadn't taken the time to learn about lives that were different than mine. I had worked so hard to be trusted, but I wasn't seeing that there was these huge cultural differences in my classroom and how my lack of acknowledging them was really impacting the students and the classroom culture. So obviously, I mean, since then, that was years ago, but since then, I've really tried to work hard to just become more knowledgeable and get to know students and their home lives and what's going on, because it fascinates me. And I know now that it's okay if I'm in a conversation and I don't know what someone's talking about, or I don't know what they're referencing for, whatever personal piece they're bringing. I can ask and I can admit that I don't know, and that's okay. It doesn't make me a worse teacher. And it's been nice to just kind of let that go and make myself vulnerable in conversations with kids. I remember one year I had a student who was talking about her winter break and her holiday and what that had looked like and how they had all these different things they had done and how they had gone to different churches. And I just remember just being totally mesmerized in the conversation because I was learning so much from the students. So I continue to, try to be open. I continue to learn and grow. And today I am much more willing to admit that I don't know something and that I maybe need some education. So I would say that's probably what was my biggest failure.
See, this is why I love this question, why I love answering, because you mentioned being vulnerable in there, and I love asking this question because it gets people so vulnerable and they're willing to share something like that and to share. I hearing you say the word over and over again of my ignorances, right, and not on
Yeah.
what I know and what I didn't know and what I didn't know is such a. I think is so powerful because so often teachers feel like they, just like you were talking, like they need to know everything. They can't show what they perceive as weakness when they don't know something, and to be able to be self-aware enough to say I'm gonna change this, I'm gonna continue to work on it, I'm willing to admit that I don't know something, but I'm doing that with the goal of learning and growing from my students and from people I met. That's so powerful. So I love that story. I appreciate you sharing that. Let's keep it going with story time. Let's flip it this time. Let's talk about a successful moment you've had. This can be something big, something small, but tell us what happened. Why was it a success for you? And then what did you take away from that experience?
Okay, so last year I was blessed with this really small group of eighth graders, and I don't often teach. I think in my whole time I've taught, I've had like 2 sections that were a different grade than seventh, and so I had this small group of eighth graders, and I was really nervous to start the year. I had never taught that content. They were big, bad, scary eighth graders, but there was only maybe like 15 of them or so. And over the course of time, I kind of learned they really struggled with math. There were behavior issues, there were attention issues, and it was, to top it off, 8th hour. But they became my favorite class because I was able to develop really great relationships with them. And we kind of started just getting into this. They would come in, they would need a little pep talk of whatever had happened in the 8th grade world that day. I, being a 7th grade teacher, was disconnected from their teams and their regular classes. And so we would kind of just talk. And then some days they'd come in and they're like, we are really struggling to focus today. And I'd let them talk. And I'd say, okay, well, where can we go? What can we do? And so by second semester, we had developed this thing where they would come in, we'd have a few minutes of talking, and then we'd go find somewhere in the building for them to learn. And so many days we ended up by a window or in a hallway or stairwell, wherever. But the agreement was, I'll move locations as long as you work for me for a little. And they started doing great small group, and I just loved it. I loved the community that we had created. And then out of nowhere, COVID hits. And I'll never forget 8th hour. We had just gotten the email that it was a Friday afternoon, and we had just gotten that email that Monday was Institute to learn about e-learning, and that we will likely not, be coming back. And I just sat with my 8th graders, looking at them, had this bad feeling. I think we all kind of saw the writing on the wall, and I was really kind of bummed. Well, fast forward a few months later, we're still doing the e-learning, and we never got back in person, but that 8th grade group was really hard to stay connected to. And I pushed out lessons, I pushed out videos, I email, I'd give feedback, I'd call home, I tried, but they were very disengaged. And I at points I kind of took it personally, but I kind of just accepted. This is how they are. They're 8th graders. It's the end of May. maybe this class meant more to me than it had to them. That's okay. We had a great run, and it is what it is. A week before school was getting out, I got a note from one of the boys in the class, and he had asked if we were having another session. And I was like, kind of shocked. So I connected with him, and he proceeded then to send me several messages about how he had valued the class, how much fun he had, how it was a great way to end his day. And then he wrote this comment, and I wrote it down so I wouldn't forget. He said, "I hope your students in the coming years respect you as you respected us. You made us all better in some aspect." And I just remember like my jaw dropped, and I was like, oh my gosh, okay, maybe it meant something to them. So we quickly connected. We set up this final farewell. I gave super cheesy awards to all of them. Not every kid showed up to that last meeting, but I mailed them home. And this summer I've gotten some emails from them. I got a couple emails this week just saying, hey, good luck this year. I hope you have a good group like we were. And so it's just like that feeling that I had every day, 8th hour, and that feeling I had when I got that message in May has kind of reminded me of my why and has continued to motivate me with the challenges that are laid in front of us for this year. And I just kind of continue to remind myself, like, this is just a speed bump, but I'm still here for the kids. I still can show up for them. And I'm doing my job for them 100%. So I would say that was definitely a successful moment.
I think it's so cool that both stories you just shared, I knew nothing about. I love both of the stories that you shared because it shows so many different aspects of you as an educator. But I just have to say, Katie, like you just continue to be so humble. Your ability to go above and beyond for students, or your dedication to go above and beyond for students, although it came across in both those stories, like it barely skimmed the surface to the work that I know you continue to do for students. It's just super cool to hear all these different things. And even though we work in the same building and like literally 2 doors from each other, we teach different kiddos, and we've had different, years in our careers. And it's just so awesome to continue to hear about the impact you're making with students, because I see the impact you're making with teachers all the time. And so it's really cool to kind of see both ends, because I was confident they were there, but also just so fun to hear those stories. I know that we talk a lot, and so it sounds silly to almost ask you, but I don't know that I know the answer to this question. So I'm excited to hear more about what excites you about education, because we get to talk shop a lot. We collaborate a bunch. We have our personal friendship. But when it comes to education and everything that you do, everything going on in education, what do you feel like is really keeping you excited right now, or like fueling your fire?
I would totally say the sense of community that has been established specifically in the last 6 months. We all do our jobs for relationships and for kids. And when we were sent home and had to learn and to teach remotely, it was like I felt more supported then just with everyone. I mean, you'd get online and it was, this company is offering free subscription to teachers, and teachers are pushing out like, hey, I tried this worked well, or this is how I connected. And I felt like I just kept thinking in the spring, like, I don't want this feeling to end. And it hasn't. And it's been so cool. I have connected more with educators this summer than ever before. And it's kind of funny because I'm doing far less, it's like given the circumstances, but just being able to connect and learn and grow. And I know just connecting with people and learning from them, and just the excitement around that. Like, we are in this together. It doesn't matter if we're all behind computers. It doesn't matter if we're behind a mask, but that teachers are there for each other. And, we had our Institute days last week, Ray, as you know, and I just left every day, like, having confidence that I could do it because I was supported by administrators. I was supported by teachers in my building. But then even farther, I was supported by people out in the virtual world. And I, can get online and I can look up something and I can get advice from other people. And so I know that there's going to be, hard times. I know that this year is going to be a challenge, but I have complete confidence that no matter what challenge I face, I have someone that I can go to and get help and support and, love. And I think that is super awesome. And I honestly really hope that never ends. And I hope it continues to get stronger because we have to work together and we have to continue to push each other even when the days are hard.
Jeff, are you going to believe for a second that this girl was nervous? There's not a chance.
No, not even a little bit. But
not even a little.
I was literally thinking the same thing. I'm like, I don't sense the nerves in any way, shape, or form. So
okay.
Yeah, no, you're killing it. And like, this is
so you're doing a great job. Yeah,
you are. And it's just comical because question 5 always has to do with asking advice. And I know you listen to the podcast, which I always find comical. I'm like, don't you get enough rain in your life? But we've even given you shout outs because I know you listen sometimes during your workouts. Like, so fun to have you involved. But, when question 5 dealing with advice, it's just interesting for me because I've learned so stinking much from you. Like, holy moly. I learned from you. I would say, and I'm not trying to be dramatic. Like, I bet I learned something new from you every day. I love your approach to teaching. I love your approach to being like a strong staff member, just like everything in between. So I have no idea how you're going to pick one piece of advice because I have no clue. So good luck with question 5 because this might be your like crumbling area because there's no way that you could pick just one out of everything that you shared. Okay, so here's the question. If you had to pick one piece of advice, and we can say for a new teacher or, like any teacher right now, what would be your piece of advice you share?
Well, after that strong intro, I feel like pressure is on.
Pressure is on, girl. Pressure's on.
Well, I feel like you have to do what makes you happy. And that might seem super obvious because it's like, well, we're obviously educators. That makes us happy. But I mean all the extra. Teachers are asked to do so much. And I feel like young teachers are asked to do so much more. And I hate to kind of stereotype it, but I feel like young teachers often are seen as they have no kids, they have no families, they have no lives. So they can do all things for the school. And I don't think that's fair. And I don't think that's necessarily right. And I think teachers really have to evaluate what makes them truly happy. If you're asked to sponsor a club and it is not a club you have any interest in, you have to be okay with saying no. And you have to be comfortable to just accept that will become a burden and it won't become a blessing. And that may not be the best for your mental state. And it may not be best for your teaching. And I think it's hard for young teachers. They want to do it all and say yes to everything because they want to be seen as a valuable resource to their building, which I think you can, but you have to do it in a way that's going to make you happy and, kind of fuel you. So if you're asked to do something and you don't have interest, you've got to say no and just be okay with that and kind of find something else that maybe excites you. And if there isn't anything in the moment and you want to focus on teaching, that's okay too. It's okay to say no. But I would just say continue to find things that make you happy as an educator and help build those strong, positive relationships with students is probably the most important thing. How did I do?
Great advice. And really important advice because I think young teachers, just like anyone coming into a job, in their first year or 2 years, a couple years into a job, they feel like they have to earn their keep or prove themselves or show that they're willing to go above and beyond and things like that. But I think the important part that you're touching on is the fact that while, yeah, that's always a good thing if you can show that you're a team player and that you want to, do more and help support things, that's great. But if it's not something you're going to enjoy, if it's not something that's going to bring value to your life in any way at all, and it's potentially going to bring a negative vibes or a negative feel to your life and it's become a burden, that's not good because that's going to make you less effective in all the other areas of your life and your other areas of your job. So I think that's awesome advice.
So I passed.
You passed, but that was not the actual test.
Dun, dun,
this
dun.
is the actual test. So now we're going to do the actual test, Katie. The test here is the next 6 questions. You got 15 seconds or less to answer each one. Are you ready?
Yeah, and if you don't win the trophy on this, I'm not sure we can be friends. This is like a really big deal.
I know. I really want that trophy. I'm sure it's some magical land trophy, but I just, pressure's on. Let's do this.
So if you don't win the trophy, Ray's not going to be your friend, which, Katie, depending on how you look at it, might be the trophy.
Whoa.
Oh, now she's interested in a friendship, Jeff.
Hold up there, Jeff Gargas. I need Katie in my life. She keeps me sane.
And I'm pretty sure I'm the opposite side of that coin.
Ain't that the truth, buddy? Ain't that the truth?
Yeah, that's the truth. All right, let's do this. What is one EdTech tool you cannot live without?
Google everything.
Give us a book you're reading right now.
Ask Again, Yes by Beth Keane, and Mathematical Mindsets by Boaler.
Who do we need to follow on social media today?
Jonathan Alsheimer and Jimmy Casas.
And give us a good YouTube channel or website for educators.
EdUtopia.
Give us a daily, weekly, or monthly routine every teacher should get into.
Take time for yourself every single day, whether it's a mindless episode of TV or a walk around your block. Just take 30 minutes to just let go of it all.
And the best piece of advice you've ever received:
don't let other people control your emotions.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Not only good answers, but you killed the 15-second thing. Holy cow.
Man, that's definitely trophy worthy. It has to.
Yeah. Ray, you're pretty close there. So can you just deliver the trophy?
Well, I really love that our listeners truly believe that you package it up and
yeah.
It's true.
It doesn't come in a package with a big red bow?
Of course it does, Katie. In a massive box. Of course it does.
Yes. Okay, yes. Great. Good.
Come on.
It actually takes three people plus at least one dolly to get it to your front door.
Awesome.
How you get inside from there, I'm not really sure how anyone's done it, but yeah, good luck.
Katie, I'll come over and help you.
Okay, perfect. Great.
Yeah. I want to go back to this best advice ever received. Don't let other people control your emotions. That is not easy to do.
No. I early on, I had a parent get mad. Shocking. A parent is mad with us. That's right. That's kind of life. And I was so upset because I just felt like my life was over. It was like they had judged my character. And I had a friend who just said, they are not in control of your emotions. You are. So take back the control. And I kind of looked at her, what? And she said, the only thing they have in their minds how they feel about you, but you can control how you're reacting to the situation and how you feel about it. And so you know how you are as a person, you know how you handle the situation and have confidence in that and continue to, kind of keep control of your emotions. Don't let other people take that. And yeah, I've tried really hard to kind of continue with that in kind of my career.
So good. Katie, I want to make sure every single listener, every single person connects with you. I truly, truly am 100% honest when I say that you are not only an incredible educator, but truly somebody I learn from all the stinking time, whether it's trying to up my gift game when we're texting back and forth or just learning about how to be better for students and show up better for just our entire building. Holy cow, I just want everybody to keep learning from you. So would you mind sharing your Twitter, Instagram handle so people can stay connected?
Yes. So my Twitter is at Mrs.Migs with M-I-G-S. That's really kind of professional. My personal is Instagram. So that's at K_Miglin. That if you just want to watch crazy, ridiculous pictures of my children and family.
It's totally worth it. Definitely follow her on Instagram. Her children are adorable.
Thanks. If you want to watch the lifestyle of being a kindergartner facilitator, which is what I am, and also a 7th grade teacher, you can jump in on the fun. And then YouTube channel is just my name. I just post stuff for my classes. But if you want to learn about math and how to add and subtract integers, you're welcome to follow.
I love it. And you can find all the links, all the resources, everything we mentioned in this episode over at teachbetter.com in the show notes, as well as those important links for connecting with Katie and keeping this conversation going. So make sure you head over to teachbetter.com for all of that. Be sure to hit subscribe so you don't miss any upcoming episodes. And if you can give us a rating and a review, we'd really appreciate that as well. Let's keep taking this one step further. Think of just 3 of your colleagues who need to hear these amazing stories and connect with these amazing educators and share this podcast with them. Katie, this was a lot of fun. I'm so happy that we got you on. And that you are in Ray's life and that you keep her sane for all of us. We appreciate that. I appreciate you coming on. We both do. Just a huge thank you from us. Thank you.
Thank you for having me. It was fun.
Until next time, let's get out there. Let's teach better.